Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasya Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Tirgunarahit Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Stithi Prakarana, section 35. Sage Vasishtha continues to use the old method, Gada Parinyaya, hammering. The same truth has to be hammered. Shouldn't be surprised. You are practicing hammering all the time. Same food that you have taken into the stomach, same cauliflower, next day, hammer it. Next day, hammer it. In a humorous way, I am trying to explain to you, abhyasa, sustained effort. Just like maintaining your physical body, you have no problem. If you don't become hungry, you complain. And yet you have eaten 1,000 times, maybe more. Likewise, through your mental process, you try to understand the goal of life. That understanding is not just intellectual, it is a digesting process, a nutrition for your mind and more profoundly for your soul. And that nutritional movement should be, firstly, you should have no conflict with it. It should be a joyous project, a project of adventure. How did you understand 5 years back, and how do you understand now? And surprisingly, how will you understand 5 years later? Open your heart. Never say, now this is all that is, I know it now. So that point has to be well understood. From the absolute point of view, there is neither bondage nor release, nor any cause of bondage. All has been projected by the illusory power of Maya. This is a big news break. There is neither bondage nor release. All is Brahman. But when the veil of illusion is broken, an enlightened sage realizes that all this is Brahman. I turn your attention to Sri Shankaracharya's, one of the stotras, prayers or spiritual statements. Mano buddhi ahamkara chittani naham. I am neither mind, nor intellect, nor ego, nor chitta. All the four. No, no, no. Nacha shotra jihve, nacha ghrana netre. No ears for me. Real I am doesn't have ears, you see. No tongue, no nose, no eyes. What happened to you? न च व्योम भूभिर्न तेजो न वायु. There is no sky, no earth, no fire, no air. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivo. I am consciousness and bliss. Chidananda Chit, pure consciousness. Ananda, bliss. Shivoham, I am Shiva, I am Brahman. So that is the highest truth. How long it takes for you to get it, that's a different matter. But that's the highest truth. And you are destined to get it. This is the Vedantic way of talking about destiny. Worldly destiny, everything is, you have been destined, you have done certain good karma, therefore, but there was a limitation in your karma. Your business brought about indebtedness. So that was your destiny. It's a very important point because people generally confuse reading spiritual scriptures. There are statements that you cannot negate your destiny. Now it gives you a message that therefore you must hunch down with every situation, cannot negate it. You are the destiny. Brahma wrote a note on it and stamped it. But that's totally a different, it's a wrong way of interpreting destiny. Profound destiny, every soul is bound to realize I am Brahman. There is no other way. Petty thoughts such as, I am this limited body, subject to birth and death. Simple point is there. You allow your mind to become sattvic, relaxed. Live your life in such a way that have a little time, space. During that space, do your japa, prayer, then allow your mind to be relaxed. And then go over these subtle Vedantic insights in a profound way. And these are these insights. I am not the limited body, subject to birth and death. No one ever believes in death. That's mystery. When Yudhishthira was asked by his divine father Dharma, Yama, what's the most surprising thing in this world? And Yudhishthira answered that everybody hears someone is dying in the world. There is not a moment, but never puts his finger, I am also subject to. Your mind doesn't get that attention. Why? Because deep down you are not the body. The idea I am mortal is sustained by your mind, and mind is a projecting machine. Mind goes on projecting. And that's not the I. In mental realm, the I is your ego. Ego seems to dominate everything. But when you start to catch the ego, you don't know where it is. It's like putting your hand in water to catch a moon. Try it. So the real I am is the absolute self. That self alone is. The entire world, with countless stars and countless Milky Ways, the entire world is nothing but I am. And that I am is not of the nature of material things, gigantic. It's pure awareness. Awareness has no shape, no name. It's allegorically, the massive light, light of light. So, these are called petty thoughts. When you think of the body, birth and death, and objects that give you happiness. See how the scriptures scold you such a all this is the reality of life. Everybody is working on these realities. How are you, your body? How's your business? And so many things. So, but all that is petty. Keep it in your petty. See, such a Hindi language. Petty means a box. This must be checked by entertaining such luminous thoughts as I am the self. Mano buddhi ahamkar chittani naham. I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, not the ego, not the chitta. Nothing of ear, nose, not air, not fire, none of this world business. Then who am I? I am the self, eternal, imperishable, absolute, transcendental, non-dual. Shuddhosmi, buddhosmi, niranjanosmi. I'm absolutely pure, enlightened, spotless, eternal. I'm saying these things quickly, but each statement can be enjoyable if you allow that to enter in your mind in a nice way. With increasing purity, the mind begins to bring about its own destruction. Mind is a bundle of thoughts. You don't need mind. You are best when you are unmindful. But you have no choice. As long as gripped by ignorance, mind is your iPad. And you work through your mind, by your mind, for your mind. And you are always beyond your mind. There are times when mind has nothing to think about. Call it Yoga Nidra. Call it Samadhi. And you are at your best. So, when a spiritual enquiry enters the mind, it's like a light entering into a cloud. Now what happens? Cloud begins to dissolve. like rays of light entering a cloud. It's a tragic thing. Cloud doesn't have the same shape and size. And it begins to dissolve. But then, the magic of Vidya, knowledge, the cloud sees itself shining and becomes addicted to shining. It wants to shine more and more, forgetting about the fact that it is fading away more and more. Once that movement starts, you are in the profound stage in your spiritual progress. One attains self-realization when the mind becomes illumined, when the cloud fades away. By the practice of samadhi, higher impressions are formed that allow the mind to be purified. A spiritual insight enters your mind, like the rays entering into a cloud. Then what happens? The cloud becomes purified. It is no longer opaque, becomes silvery. Similarly, mind develops that state. And when that has developed, one attains self-realization. Through pure mind, first, allow the purity of your mind to be stable, secure, real. Once that has become secure and real, your liberation is pakka, perfect. You can't go backward. You become enlightened. You don't have to declare it because there's no need for you to do that. Sun doesn't declare, I am the sun, I am the sun. I'm coming out by horses. I'm joking. Such a purified mind accepts the Brahmic vision much in the same way as white cloth accepts any color. The point is, simple allegorical picture. If you want to, there is a color, and if you have already colored cloth, that color will have no meaning over it. If you have already impure mind, then spiritual teaching is like a divine coloring over. The mind is not ready. But if mind is purified, it's like a white sheet of garment. And now teaching touches it. Even a little teaching is not yet brilliant, but on a white cloth, every little thing shines up. This allegorical way of saying about receptivity. How much can you be colored by spiritual teaching? Depend upon how much purity is there in your mind. But you don't have to calculate that. The more you allow the teaching to enter, purity will automatically wax, not tax, wax. As long as the mind is united with the objects of the world, so long it cannot blend with the self. simple way to understand. As long as you are watching the cinema show, involved with the story going on that is created by projections, you have no idea about the screen. The screen is completely out of your attention. Similarly, if you are involved with the projections of the mind, that's what the state of life is in bondage. The divine self, which is the reality behind all, that divine self is ignored. Where is God? People go and ask. And through their own mind, they created a big complex about God. That one aspect of God is in Badri, another aspect is in Rameshwaram, another aspect is in anywhere in the world, Rome. Your mind thinks of God in a very distracted way. And all the while, you are operating by God's presence within you. Without God, your eyes won't see, your ears can't hear. Your whole body, all the cells are sustained by God. God is your reality, closer to you than your nose. But when the objects of the world are renounced by the understanding of their illusoriness, the mind becomes united with the self. Simple statement, but if you take it literally, it can deceive you and mislead you in a terrible way. What does it mean? The idea is renounce the objects of the world. In that objects, your own body, your own mind, your own intellect, all are involved. If you take literally, then that many people do. Having read, they say to their parents that I want to attain sannyasa, goodbye, don't stop me. Just to make you understand, there are people who are praiseworthy when they do that. But there are those people who are sentimental. Having read little literature about all this world, is the idea that anything entertaining comes before you, move away. This is tempting me. I'm going to God. Beautiful flower blossoms, God. A baby comes to love the mother, and the mother says, God, God. Can you imagine that? What I'm leading you to understand. Detach means don't see things according to your egoistic values. See things in the terms of God behind. So if you are loving your children, you are loving for attaining enlightenment. You are adoring God, serving God in your children. Likewise, the children are serving God in you, and you project that type of teaching. And that does not in any way contradict your normal, practical reality of warmth, love, coziness, etc. Doesn't contradict. Only it contradicts a wrong way of being cozy. As long as the world is not seen as the self, so long will it continue to be a source of misery. As long as you are living confined to mind and senses, that life is a life of stress, life of constant change. The world around is constantly changing. But when you become fully aware, I am, just like you are in deep sleep, you are stripped of mind, intellect, etc. Only what happens when you wake up, you don't have the grip over what happened to you in deep sleep. If you enter into samadhi, then that illusion will not stay. You enter into samadhi, all moves away, and as you wake up from your samadhi or come into waking into normal state, you are no longer the same person. Movement towards enlightenment has many stages. Just as the perception of waves being different from the ocean, the idea, look at the ocean, and your mind is caught by waves. But while your mind is looking at waves and trying to give quality and their stories about different waves, all that you are doing, you are looking at the ocean. Ocean and waves are just the same. Only if you go after waves, you have a lot of trouble. Because not a single wave is calm and joyous condition. Every wave has to say wave goodbye to other waves. It's the world of waves. You constantly waving goodbye to. But the reality behind wave is ocean. With that vision of ocean-like awareness, there are no goodbyes. You say goodbye to goodbye. It is only through the presence of the impressions of raga, dvesha, attachment and hatred, that a person is affected when an object of desire is lost, or when an adverse circumstance develops. But when these impressions are renounced, all objects are viewed in the serene light of dispassion. Here the simple role of raga, dvesha, attachment, hatred. You are living in a house. You are interested in every part of your house. But there comes a time you sold your house, got into another house. Next day you hear the house that you sold collapsed. You don't feel misery at all. You are very happy. That's the magic of raga dvesha. In human relations, very close relations develop, and then due to some disharmony, the relation breaks up. The person whose presence used to give you such joy and melting heart Now you see the same person in a crowd, move away, back. Put your back towards. The magic of raga dvesh. When a person has lost his affection for a friend or relative, he sees him with a dispassionate mind. So too a sage who has attained the state of renunciation sees all objects of the world with a mind that is ever serene and unagitated. Once you have come to that profound awareness, understanding, understanding that all that you are perceiving, they are one and the same. All is Brahman. Purnamadaha Purnamidam. Brahman is full. And all that you are experiencing through your mind is not out of the fullness of Brahman. They are the waves in the fullness of Brahman. And waves are never different from the ocean. So therefore, highly advanced mind experiences detachment, stays like the sky, without in conflict with anything. The sky puts its cozy hand, loving hand on all the clouds. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But has no attachment to any one of them. They come, they go. The sky doesn't rejoice, nor there is a sorrow. The sky remains untouched. These are allegorical way of telling you how to promote serenity in your mind. It is within your power and it is a reality. It is not something imaginary being placed before you. If you have no attachment or affection for a friend or relative, you may meet him and part from him without allowing your mind to be affected in any way. That's what you learn from tourism. You tour to another country, meet so many people, and you remain the same. These all types of people. Follow that. You are a tourist. So don't get caught up with attachment and hatred. You have toured through the world process, through many embodiments. A big tourist. You are not affected by gain or loss of any object. In that divine vision of the self, the illusions of seer, seen and sight dwindle. To understand seer and seen and sight, always simple illustration, dream. When you are dreaming, who is the seer of the dream subject? Is the dream subject real? No. What is the scene? What the world that you are seeing in your dream? That world is not real. Cite your experience of pleasure and pain in your dream world, that also is not real. Through the human mind, threefold illusion operates through every individual. How you think of yourself, no matter how mature and how scholarly you may be, you don't have complete idea. You're far from knowing who you are. It is a constant movement until you attain enlightenment. Similarly, what is the nature of the world? That's a big complex. Firstly, whose world? For a human being, his senses perceive the world. To all humanity, that is the real. But this is a kind of a narrow-minded understanding. In other words, the world is being defined by your senses. And senses are not perfect at all. Each sense is very limited and defective. You cannot match up your eyesight even with, say, vultures. Vultures have bigger eyesight. Don't be jealous. Implying the world can be experienced. The experience of the world will change. Suppose your eyes were changed, your hearing capacity were to change. If your perceptions were to change, the whole world changes. It's not a big mathematics. Put one little finger near your eye and big sights are moved away from you. So therefore, this is the world, so brittle, so illusory, and mortal. The world will go on experiencing as long as your brain and nervous system is there. That little strange thing hanging from your brain, that's all the world is. How can that world be the reality? And experiencing your pleasure, pain, and thrill of life, that also is completely dull-witted. When the rainy season of vasana terminates, the mind regains its healthy state. Turning your attention to vasanas. Vasanas are subconscious impressions. Just like you have seeds that go very deep in the earth, they take a long time to sprout. Impressions that have gone deep into your unconscious, they are called samskaras. Out of those samskaras, those impressions that are going to sprout, but they have just put out a little nose, sprouting nose. They have not come up yet. In that state, your conscious mind, touched by the vasana, now begins to operate. If vasana is sattvic, your mind will, if vasana is sattvic, your mind will say, let's go to satsang, let's do prayers, let's prepare for spiritual evolution and so forth. But if vasana is on the other hand, tamasic, rajasic, then find through the Google, which is the most noisy place. Joking. So you are led by your vasana. Now, negative vasanas, called malina vasana, impure vasana, that creates like a rainy season of trouble. Rains, monsoon rains, constantly. Human beings live by that type of life. You build up certain things, it's great, affection, love, devotion, and suddenly it drops. And your mind is left with sorrow after sorrow. It's the rainy season. Scriptures enjoy this, giving this type of a allegorical description. All miseries of the world are described in the form of torrential rains, and how they are kicking into the roofs, pouring down, spoiling the comfort. That's the world. Gripped by torrential rains of kleshas, afflictions. And along with the rains comes cold, shivering cold. Think of the rains during the winter. The shivering cold of ignorance, the ditches filled with the waters of craving, thorny bushes of attachment and hatred. All these things develop. But enlightenment movement is autumn movement. Rainy season is terminating. So all those negatives that you have experienced, the ditches dry up. Thorny bushes, no thorns but lot of blossoms. All that was negative turns to be positive. With the rising of the sun of wisdom, the forces of darkness take to flight. The streams of fear dry up, and the thoughts and desires for objects, like rejoicing peacocks in rain, they dance no more. It's a different type of simile. Peacocks is not given much credit. Peacocks dance when the rains. The rains stop, they dance no more. So when the rain continues with the impure vasanas, then all your thoughts and desires, they dance. Lot of peacocks. The mental vision becomes like a wide landscape, revealing itself after the cessation of rainy season. Just as during autumn the sky is always clear, allowing the moon to shine bright. Now the bhavana, feeling within you, love, real love begins to emerge, like the moon is the love of God. And it goes on waxing. In the same way, the heart of a sage becomes free from the clouds of illusion and allows the moon of bliss to shine therein, showering down the nectar of immortality. The tree of discriminative vision grows, assimilating all the joys of the world and bearing the fruit of self-realization, wherein bliss is boundless. The tree of discriminative vision called Viveka Buddhi. As Viveka Buddhi develops, you begin to see the world through intuitive vision, jnana drishti. There are three types of drishti. Charam chakshu, things seen by your skinny eyes. That's a Vedantic way of saying about the eyes. They are made within the skin of your body. So skinny eyes. Charam chakshu. All that you experience through your eyes is charam chakshu experience. If you do lot of concentration, meditation, build up great willpower, siddhis, what we call psychic powers, they don't mean that you are spiritually advanced. Ego becomes inflated. So when you, in that state, how you experience the world, that's called divya drishti. Vision based on psychic powers. That vision can be positive or negative depending upon the context. Positive, that's when you have divya drishti, you begin to see God's hand behind things. It will lead you, open the door for jnana drishti. The ultimate drishti is jnana drishti. Jnana drishti is that experience where ignorance has been cut down. Wisdom shines bright. No more ignorance. In that vision, Brahman alone is real. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. That's called divya drishti, jnana drishti. That drishti is that leads you to liberation. Other drishtis, they can help you depending on how you are utilizing it. The cankerous black bee of ahamkara or ego sense does not hover over the lotus of the heart anymore. That state of jnana drishti, when you have that intuitive, direct realization that all this is Brahman, I am Brahman. Then now your heart is like a beautiful lotus, not buzzing with the black bee of ahamkara, ego, and pinching into the nectar source. That's what the bees do. And that's what human heart is. The ahamkara goes and pinching the very core of your heart. Every little sweetness you have, grabs it. The remedy is, instead of the bee, bring divine name. Invoke God in it. And then ultimately, your heart opens to self-realization. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. With the cessation of vasanas, the mind stuff itself melts. The vision of the self dawns, much like the rising sun. and the joys of this world and heavenly worlds become insipid before the bliss of self-realization. A sage dwells in the city of the body, which is illumined by the lamp of intuition. He dwells as the emperor of emperors. So though you live in your tiny body, don't be upset. You are all-encompassing self. Though the sun looks like a little egg, comfortable to be held in your hand, that sun illumines this whole world, whole earth. Allegorical. Sri Vasishtha continued, just as ocean waves that have not yet arisen are nothing but the ocean. Now regarding the reality of life, everyone is burdened with what is going to happen in the world. Spiritual people become involved. When is Kali Yuga coming? And they go through astrologers, etc., and they give a big account of time and mind. Having learned all this, I'm now so intelligent, am I? But all that's a big illusion. What will happen to the world has nothing to do if you are enlightened. Because whatever has happened and whatever will happen will be illusions sustained by Brahman. Sit by a cinema screen. Ask yourself, how many cinemas have been projected on this? How many are going to be projected? Who cares? Screen has been the reality. So you have no basis to keep the past as a burden over your mind and keep future as a terrible stress. And the present doesn't know where it is. One foot in the past, one foot in the future. And that's the way people pass their time. All future developments in this world are of the nature of the self alone. All that was in the past, self. All that is going to be in future, the self. All that is the self. If you want to understand in a very simple way, think of your dream. While dreaming, your mind of the dream subject has passed before it. While dreaming, you are thinking of all the past, and you have no limit to the past, beginningless past. You have before you endless future. And mind is busy trying to explore. But all that doesn't exist. All that never happened. So such is the world. And with this I will conclude. Gada Parinyaya will go on. We'll go on getting the same food. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम।